everyone, this is Nicky from Little Blue Artworks, and today I'm going to show you how to felt a beautiful everlasting rose. The supplies you'll need for this project are about 10 or 11 grams of carded batting wool, and here I've got about 4 or 5 grams of the hot pink, and this is about 10 grams of the baby pink. I'll also be using some dark green cordial wool, and this is about 10 or 11 grams, and then just a small piece of cordial mid green. If you don't have these specific colours and you'd like them, I do supply them in a supply box. You'll get this along with the wire, which I'm using for this project, which is a painted green forest wire. It's about 14 inches long. I also will have the template inside the supply box to give you an idea of different sizes of petals. So that all comes with the supply box, which I will link up below. Nice pair of sharp, and I call them snippy scissors. You'll need your 3 needles, so the needles I use are the large, the medium and the small, 38, the 36 and the 32. Wire cutters and wire benders. You don't have to have this tool, the punch tool, but it will speed things up for you to do that, and I do recommend them. And I'll be using some glue, so for this project I recommend either Pritt Stick for the stock, or I use this Bostik all-purpose clear glue. Supply packs will not have the needles and the felting pad. I have 2 different sizes of felting pad. This is the large one, and they are handmade, double lined and filled with organic buckwheat husks. So we're going to go ahead and make our first petal, and if you do get the supply kit from myself, I will provide you with a template just for you to get the sizes. And the first thing we're going to make is the inner petal. So I'm just going to take off a pinch there, just pulled off a pinch of the wool batting. And I'm going to arrange this into a shape on my pad. So I'm just flattening that out there. And I'm going to fold over the edges to get this petal shape, the smaller one for the inside. And I've got a medium size one and a large size one. So you can either cut out the templates and put them on your wool, or you can just place it over your template to get an idea of size. It doesn't have to be perfect, but to get the outer edges of the petal, I'm just going to take a little bit off there. I've just got a nice flat bit of round wool there. I'm going to fold over the edges at the top, then we're going to felt this bit down to get the upper edges of the top of the petal. And I'm starting here with my medium needle. I'm not really sure I'm going to be using my larger needle today. There might not be a need for it. Now what I'm doing now is getting the edges of that petal coming down, so I'm just folding in the edges gently and then stabbing down, and also on the other side folding that just under my finger there and very carefully stabbing that down. Then I'm just going to give it a little stab all over to felt that middle bit, and because it's quite square there in the corners, I'm just going to fold over the corner and very gently felt that down, and do the same this side, just to give that a rounder look. Then in the bottom we want it to come to a point, so I'm just holding it together to get the felt coming down into a point, and we don't need that felt at the bottom. So what you can do is either just chop it off with a pair of scissors, and I recommend using these for do felting. They're nice sharp little, I call them snippy scissors, but I think they're some kind of sewing scissors. You can correct me that in the comments. So they're quite good. However, I do tend to just fold things over. It gives the felt an extra little bit of thickness. Now I'm wanting this round down here rather than square, so I'm either just using my finger or the needle to pull the wool and then felt it down into the shape that I want. So I've got a roundabout kind of petal type shape at the moment. I'm going to give it a little bit of a stab all over to felt that down. Now if you felted before, as you can imagine, this is going to stick to your mat. So when you're taking it off, just be very careful and gentle, although you might have to give it a good tug. We're going to get that up off the mat, and you'll find the underside's quite fuzzy. That's okay. I'm going to felt that down. It might have distorted the shape slightly, so I'm just going to put that corner in there with my finger and make sure to felt that down to get that side a bit more rounded. You can push it in with your finger or your needle, stab it down, and it will hold. Gonna get that side in that little bit more. There we go. Gonna give it another stab all over. Okay, so we've got our general small petal shape there. Now this will be the inside of your rose, right in there, in the middle. So we're going to curl that round. I'm going to put the left side underneath the right side to get that shape there. And I'm just going to really pull that in at the bottom where the middle of the rose is going to be. Now I'm going to hold it down, still using my medium needle, and I'm going to get that to hold by just stabbing right through. If you're finding that hard, if you've done quite a thick one, use your smaller needle and that will go through a lot easier. Either way, you want that to hold and you want that middle bit to really come down in size. That's going to be inside the middle of your rose. Now before I actually rolled it, I should have put in my secondary colour because I forgot I was doing that with this one. So I'm going to use a little bit of my hot pink. So if you haven't got this far yet, you can just go back a stage to where it's still flat. I'm going to add a slight little bit of colour just on the edges. So I don't need much. It really is just like a very small piece there. And I'm going to have it going over the top of that bit petal because I'm also going to fold over this side and felt that in, and I'll be using my small needle for this to attach it. So you can see it sticking out over, and I'm just going to lightly tap it into the edges. And then of course if I'd left it flat, this bit would have been easier. So I'm just holding it down there with my fingers very carefully, tapping that in. So we're about there with this one. You can always trim down any bit just to neaten that up further. I'm just going in there with my snippy scissors and making it nice and neat and tidy. Well, that's your first petal done. That will be the inside of your rose. Now you need to go on to the next petal. So this will be similar size, just slightly bigger. So again, just a flat piece of felt and a kind of rounded shape there on your mat. And going in again with the pink needle, which is the medium one. That will be a size 36 if you have your own needle from somewhere else. So just going to give that a good stabbing all over. I might have a shotty on my punch tool, see how we go. Get that really nice and flat. It's a lot noisier, that one. However, it's quicker. And I'm going to fold down the top there to get the top of the petal. We're going to go for the edges now. Now with this one, I'm going to cut it and just see what kind of difference that makes to the thickness of it. I don't want it flat at the bottom like that, so I'm just going to fold that corner in, stab it down. Same for this side. Fold it, stab it, and that will get it coming to more of a point. Speed it up a bit. Now, obviously, that is going to be fairly stuck to your mat, so ooh, there we go. And I'm going to give it a once over on this side. There we are. Bit of a trim. Okay. And this time won't forget a little bit of detail. If you use the small, it's not going to leave too many of the big needle marks that you get with the big ones. And this side, fold those bits over, hold them down. Punch tool. There we are. So that's our medium-sized petal. Let's see how that's looking with the first bit. So you have our first petal there. I'm going to take our second petal and put it round, covering that bit there. And the bottom should be where the bottom of the other one is. The top of the petals should be in the same position as the top there. Okay, so we're gonna just really squish that in and pull it round and see how that looks. I think that looks really nice. So I'm gonna needle felt that into position by holding it down firmly before it goes anywhere. And with my medium needle, stab that through. Watch your fingers again. You can tell I'm a mom. Watch your fingers. Okay. Here we go. So that is the inside of our rose. And so it continues. On to the next. And at this point, I probably will fast forward this so it's not too boring to watch, and I'll let you see how many we need altogether. Every now and again, and if you want your petal to be slightly wider and you've felted it well, you can just give it a little tug to stretch it out. It'll make it slightly thinner and slightly bigger if that's what you need. If you find you've made a petal and it's really thin in the middle to the point where you can see your finger running through it, just take off a little patch of wool and just stab that in, and that will sort that out. You can always add more if you need to. Sometimes when I'm adding colour and I don't want a big blob like that, what I do is just, so as here I've got a small pinch of the hot pink. I'm just going to hold that over the area that I want it, hold my finger down and pull, and I'm going to do that over the areas that I want. So that's just another wee tip for blending that nicely into that area. With this, because I had quite a lot overlapping there, I can just turn it over and pull that down for that side. every now and again I'm just having a go at placing the petals on. And you don't place one petal over another petal like this. You look for the side of one petal there and then overlap it with the next side of the next petal, and then you're just wrapping that round there, so it's tight at the bottom but at the same level as the top of the other petals. Going for the next one, just to have a look how we're doing. Every petal I've made is slightly bigger than the next. So I'm onto my large petals here. I think we're gonna need either one or two more. I'm just taking off a bit extra there because I made mine quite big, and when I fold it over that's just going to make that petal so thick that I'm going to pull away some of those extra fibres that I don't need before I do the edge there. At this point I feel it is just quicker just to go straight in with the punch tool and just flatten out an area. You know what general size you're going for about now, so this is the last petal, so I'm trying to make this the widest one. So I'm just going to go all over with the punch tool and then with the medium needle fold in the sides. And there is my last petal. So we have the small petal, smallest one that's just slightly bigger, so that's 2, 9 petals altogether. Each time I've made one just slightly bigger than the rest. I'm quite liking the effect of the hot pink over the baby pink. It's giving some nice kind of natural textures there, which I quite like. But the way to attach this now is, so I'm looking at my second petal there, taking the smallest one, overlapping that side with the side of this petal here like so, and making sure the top of this is in line with the top of the second petal. Wrapping that around and I'm going to attach that on. Just move my larger petals down. Going through here with the medium. You might find, if you've felted it a lot like me, that the small needle will be easier. That would be the 36. I'm felting about halfway up the petal now. Going for the next petal now, looking at the edge there, edge of the next petal. Make sure the height's the same at the top there. Wrapping it around, nice and tight. Holding it together on the mat. Stabbing that through. Next petal, again looking for the edge, overlapping with the next edge. If you feel like you want to give it a bit of a pull out, that will thin it and enlarge it slightly, and off we go around. Again, making sure that the top is in line with the other ones. Nice and firm around the bottom, hold it down on the mat. Right, next one. So we're on to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're on to number 6. Overlapping here. When it goes around. A little bit further around there. Okay, pulling it tight, holding it tight down, stabbing it in. we're going to keep going. I'll just speed up this bit. You know what you're doing now. Just keep going with it. I'm now going in with my large needle. That'll be the 32. And giving it a really good stabbing around the bottom bit, around that bottom area. I want that to come down in size. I want it to be firmly attached. I want that to be really nice and firmly felted. And I may trim it down in size if need be. I'm just going to go around a few times. If your large needle is not going through at all, just go ahead and use your medium needle. Now, here we go. Oh, so all the petals are on. I'm just going to have a look. I'm going to splay them a little bit. See how that looks. Very pretty. So I quite like that with the extra pink detail on. Compare it to the baby pink one. Of course, you could do a red rose, blue rose, rainbow rose. That would be pretty cool. So I'm going to take a break now and I will be back to show you all the green bits. So these bits under here, how to do the stalk and the leaf, or 2 leaves if you would like. So go and have a little biscuit and a cup of tea and I'll see you back soon. Hi everybody, back after a quick break. And so back here looking at our rose. I did trim down the top there of this middle petal. I just felt it was too much sticking out above the rest. And also what I did was just open out those petals a little bit and just neatened up the shading on it with my small needle. I've just been going over the edges and just trying to felt down and have the flower just looking that little bit nicer. Felting down the petals can help hold them open as well if you want more of an open rose, or maybe you want something a bit more closed. But that's just how to neaten up the area. But what we need to work on next is the stalk. What I use here is a floral accessory. So this is a 45.5 centimeter or 18 inches piece of painted stem wire, which is green. And because it's green, you could just keep it as is, but because we'll be placing a leaf on ours later, I just feel that that's a good way to attach it. If we can felt down the stem, it also gives it a little bit more thickness to the overall look, and it just gives that nice felted look all over. You can trim down the length of it because it is quite lengthy to what you need with some wire clippers. So what we're going to do here is to attach the wire to the rose head first. Use your large needle. So for example, here's my green, and I will put this in the bottom here, and I want this to be coming out the middle of my rose in the other end because we're going to be creating a hole. Obviously you want to be careful while pushing this through, so I might just push that into my mat and see where it comes. Not quite where I want it. Oh, here we go. We got it in the middle now. So that's coming through the center of the smallest petal in the middle. So now I've got it, I'm just going to face that down on my mat and stab it repeatedly as you do. That is going to make a nice hole there, and if you want to, you can go with your pokey tool or something a little bit larger, just to open out that passageway to get the wire going through. Now we'll see if this wire actually goes through in the right spot now. So we're going to put that in, and it's quite a stiff wire, so hopefully it shouldn't bend and we'll get it through somehow. Here we are. Yeah, come out at the right spot, so that's what we wanted. So these are my wire clippers, which I can use to clip off the length of it if I need to. And I've got some wire benders here because it's not like the armature wire, which I've used in some of my other sculptures. For example, here's a little doggy and he's got armature wire, very bendable. So you want to just bend over the end there of that. And to fix it, I'm going to use some Bostik all-purpose clear glue. It will dry very quickly and it'll also kind of just pour out once it gets going. It tends to just really come out, so I'm just going to very quickly put the lid back on before any more comes out. And that should be enough, and it won't be long until that dries. Pull that right down. And the hook, the outer part of the hook, is also facing the opening of the small bit of the petal. I'm going to pull that right down. And then we have it fixed in there. So we have our stem. And now we will get on to the green bits. I am, however, going to trim off a little bit. That went ping! Yeah, careful for that. This is Cordell roving. So it comes like this, very soft, and it comes in long strips like this. And you're working with this kind of wool. It's different than the batting that we used for the petals. You have to break it off in a different way. So you can peel it this way into lengths to break it down in size. Now this is going to be used on the stem, but it is too thick, so I'm going to half that. Now we've got about this much. I might lengthen it slightly. By doing this, I'm just going to pull it gently this way, and that's going to unattach some of those fibres in the middle and just pull it out slightly. That will also thin it down a little, make that length slightly longer. We're not breaking the fibres, we're just pulling them slightly apart. Now I've got a bit of a longer length. It's a bit longer than the stem itself, which is what we want. And we're going to attach to the bottom of the rose here. So I'm just going to wrap that around once, just attach that in, and I'm going to go ahead with my medium needle there. I'm going to go in up the way as well. I'm going to pull it around a little bit more, going up that way to the rose. So that's it, fairly securely attached. It's not perfect, it doesn't have to be at this stage. What we're going to be doing is twirling it around the wire all the way to the bottom. However, just for extra security, I'm going to give it a couple of drops of glue just at various points, especially the bottom, to help just make sure it's got that extra fix to it. You can also use Pritt stick, I've tried, which isn't bad actually. So a little run of Pritt stick down the bottom, down the stem, that might just give it that little bit extra something. Now I've started twisting it, and what I'm doing is I want the fibres to be kind of flat, but not too thin. I want them to be almost as thick as my thumb, but not quite. And I'm wrapping it around at an angle. See, like this? Hold that side down and going under again. And then I'm kind of overlapping it and going down again. I don't want it to be big. I want it to be fairly thin and neat. I want to keep it at that angle. So every time I'm wrapping it, I'm holding it down with my other hand, wrapping it at that sort of 45-degree angle, overlapping just slightly where it was, and just continue all the way down. But I want it to be nice and tight. So I'm holding it with my hand there so that stays nice and tight. My wool's become a bit thin, so I'm going to go back and apply a bit more glue. So that's now over there. I've had to kind of start that again, and we'll see if I can get that going. I need one more bit of glue down the bottom. Get the lid on, and here we go. Round. So the angle's going over the end, so now the wool is poking over the end. I'm twisting it round. Now I'm straightening it up, and I'm going to bend it back the way, this way, back up the stem, and then back up, and I'm just like we're going downwards, we're going back up this way. Now you can either hold that on with a bit of glue, or with your small needle you can just help attach the fibres there. Be careful not to hit your wire. Doing this very gently. Over here's my messy bit. I'm going to help felting it by twisting in the direction that the fibres were coming down. That kind of actually is not bad. Okay, so now we have the stem, and that has been felted. Is it time for another cup of tea? I'm going to put here a little bit more green around. Attach that on. Use my medium there, or the small. Just going to attach that on so it's secure. This side I'm going to get wrapped around this way now. I can go with this one. Secure that in. Twist and felting up into the rows. So that now is the start of our stems. Looking pretty good. So little break, and then I'll be back to make the leafy bits, whatever they're called, these bits. Any florists out there know that bit, what it's called? Okay, back soon. Hi folks, so I'm back, and guess what? I know now what the bits are called. These bits, they're called sepals. And roses have 5 of them. I had made 4 here. But you will be making 5 to make it that bit more realistic than my first one. Here on my template, I've got 1 sepal here. That's to get the general shape. And you've got to make 5 of these. So I'm going to go ahead and get my green roving. Again, this is just like a sort of dark green. Nothing too bright, nothing too flashy, nothing too greeny. Because I'm working with roving here, I'm just lining it up in this sort of manner. Again, I've got my needles here. My large, my medium, and my small. And I'm going to start shaping the sepal. So I'm going to hold this area down between my thumb and my finger just to get a general stabbing all over. I'm going to go in with my medium. Could even try the large. Yeah, I'm going to try the large. So I haven't used the large yet. And this is for quicker felting. So the large needle is the green needle if you're buying needles from myself. Because I don't use the gauges, I'm never sure what size it is, but it should be around about a 32. I don't need to hold it at this point because it's already attached to my felting bag. Now to shape stuff, you can either just move it with your finger and hold it down and stab it, or you can move it with your needle and stab down into your pad. Now just pinching the bottom there because I want it to come in a bit. And I don't need all this at the bottom, so I'm going to chop some off. Don't need that much. Stabby stab, and then of course we want it to be pointed at the top. But first I'm going to peel it off slowly. That bit should be felted. Because I want to get a general length of what I need. This will need refelted over. But looking at my rose, it'll probably start about here. And then I don't want it to be any more than just above the petals themselves. So that's about the length I'm going to go for here. If you can see that, just above the petals. So I'm going to chop it there. That's my length sorted. I'm going to go back in. Stabby, stabby, stabby. Now because I want it pointed at the top, as I'm stabbing I'm kind of pushing in the fibres towards each other and stabbing down, which is making a point. Folding it in now, you can either use your fingers or your needle as I say, and just get that felted into a point. The rest needs felted all over. If it's too thin you can always just add that little bit more. Again, it's too long, so I'm just breaking a small bit of the fibres down in length and paste that over the top. I'm going to go and use my punch tool, my trusted punch tool, and just get that nice and flat and felted all over. So now we have a small, what are they called again? A sepal, that's right, a sepal. I want the pointed end to be that much more pointy, so I'm going to continue felting it by twisting it. If you lick your fingers, this will give it a little bit of a wet felt. Now I'm going to have a look at that for size. Not a bad size there, I like that. All I need to do now is 5 more of them, so we're gonna speed it up. Just stopping there to show you that this length is obviously a lot longer than this length, however this one could do with a little bit of thickening up, so I'm just gonna use that same felt and fold it over. So we've got the same length, but we've got that extra bit of felt added on, so it's not too thin to work with. At this point I am finding a way to speed it up by just putting their length down and folding it up, making that be the bottom, and just going for it like that. Just trim them down if you need to. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, here we go. So, first one's first. Lay the little rose down on its bed there. My needle felting bed. I'm going to put it the other way because I'm right-handed. So that's going to come just above the petal there, holding it on the mat. I'm going to go in with my medium needle, my pink one, felting the bottom of the sepal through with the medium needle into the green bit that we made at the bottom of the rose. So that's one. Let's go for the next one. I'm just going to have another quick look because I want this to be in somewhat of a star shape. Here, I'll show you the phone. This is the shape that I'm going for there. I've got my second one in place. Holding that, using my medium needle, stabbing through the bottom of the sepal into the bottom of the rose. There we go. That's all the sepals attached. It's looking quite nice from the top. I feel like my wire is sticking up a bit there, so I'm just going to pull it down slightly. That's better. I'm going to go around the bottom of the rose. Try my large one and get that really felted down in size. Careful not to hit the wire. So that's looking quite nice. All that's left now is a leaf. So again, looking at the template, you can make 1 or 2 leaves around about this size. And you can either felt them into the shape or just felt a piece of flat felt and then cut into this shape there. Obviously for the middle you might want a slightly different colour of green, which I will also put in my supply packs if you're ordering through myself, just to make that little pattern in the middle, give it that leafy detail. So I'm going to pause there and we'll get some more green for the last bit. Right folks, now we're going to get on to our leaf or leaves for the rose. Look at the template, which you're going to get in my supply pack. You can make 1 or 2 of these, and this is the general shape you're going to be going for. I'm going to take a bit of the roving, I'm going to fold it in half. That will give it that extra bit of thickness and keep that pointy bit at the top there. And I'm going to begin felting down onto the mat with my medium needle. I'm going to try actually with the large needle, the green one, just to get it quickly together, and it's working quite well. I'm going to be just pulling in the sides with the needle to get that bottom of a needle looking more this sort of shape. I'm going to pull the top in to be more pointed as well. I'm going to pull that in there and there. These bits, I'm going to have them come down rather than cut them off, because that will thicken up that area, and the leaves should be slightly thicker so that they can hold their shape. I'm going to go over with some punch tool just to speed this up a bit. Peel that off. I have to hold my mat there because it's really felted on quite well, and then going to go for the other side. I'm going to give this a going over a couple of times because I really want to make sure the edges are felted well, because I'm going to be cutting into them to get that zigzaggy shape on the outside of the leaf. So I'm going to go over this side and the other side. I'll speed this up. If you're using a single needle to do this, then you just need to make sure, especially to be going in at those edges. There we go. So, with a pair of sharp scissors, hope these are my sharp ones, just going to trim down the fluffy bits. It's a little bit misshapen here, if you can see there. So I'm just going to round it off at the bottom with a slight point to it, and we're going to have the top pointed obviously, and then it's going to come down and in, and then have 2 points here and then 2 points here. Those bottom points are just above the middle. If you're looking from this to the bottom, this to the top, that's about the middle. So we can make those points in the middle by snipping inwards just slightly. That's marking where they're going to go. And then in between this point and the top point is where you make your next marks. However, we want them to come down a bit, so I'm going to go down and I'm going to cut this from the outside here in the middle into that inner corner. Okay, so we've got this point coming out. The next bit's up here, and I want to get rid of this part here. So coming in from the side, going down to that point that I cut in there. You could make it come down a bit more of an angle, down to that point. It should look like so. You can see that. And then the other side's going to be the same. Here we go. So we've got that kind of 5 points going on there. So I've got this lighter or medium kind of bright green here. And it's something you could sew on or you could felt on for here. I'm going to make the line in the middle and have 4 lines coming out towards these points there. Peel it into a strip like so. So here's a nice strip, and it's quite thin already. If you want it thinner, you can pull it out a bit more or just peel that bit more off. Now if you wet your fingers, you can give that a spin, and that will help create a semi-felted length. I'm going to place that on the leaf, on the mat, and hold that down so it's going from the middle bottom all the way to the top. I'm just going to felt that in there to hold it. Try with my medium because I actually don't mind it making a little bit of a dent or a valley into the middle of that leaf there. It just gives it a little bit of definition in the shape of the leaf. So you can use your scissors to just trim off the excess, and I'm just going to go over that a little bit more. So we've got that middle bit now attached. Those bits that you trimmed off, you might find you've got enough there to make the little bits that are coming off and make the start of the first one, which is coming to this point there in the middle. Not all the way, but that's where you'll be holding it. Again, with my medium, I'm going to be attaching it there and just coming out a little bit. Not all the way to that point, just somewhat a bit out. I'll show you what it's looking like there. So there's that added detail coming there. And the next bit's going to be the same, coming out to this point here from the middle. Now I felt like that bit of wool was quite thin, so in that case, rather than trim it off, I'm just going to take it back over and double it up, and that will thicken it slightly. Obviously that's going to stick to your mat, so careful taking it off. And that's some of the details started. We're just going to do the other side. I'll speed it up. And there we go, there's our leaf. And it's very fluffy underneath because I've been felting through those details, so you can just trim that down. There's our leaf. Need to do the other side too, so let's speed it up. Right folks, so we've got our leaf there. You probably saw I did a little bit of trimming and neatening up because it was very fuzzy on both sides. Went over the edges again with my scissors. And just trying to get it a bit more neatly felted. So we need to make a place where our leaf is going to be attached to our rose. You have to decide where they're going to be placed. Then you're going to use a small piece of the dark green roving. Going to place that, I think my leaf will be around about here, so I'm going to hold it over diagonally over the stem there, the same direction as where the original roving was wound around. And I'm going to hold that tight with my thumb as I make a little kind of lump area with the felt, and I'm going at an angle, but then I'm also going round just in a horizontal twist, and then around again. I'm going upward again just to smooth over that top area. So I'm going up an angle and then straight and then down at an angle and then straight and then up an angle and then straight. So that, now I'm just going to finish that off. Now I've got a bit of a lump there so that the leaf's got something to hold on to, a node so to speak, and I am using my small needle, the red one, to just needle felt on either side of the stem. I'm just going to do the one leaf for this one. It's obviously going to be facing up, and the bottom of the leaf going to go over this node here that we just made. I'm going to go through and start stabbing through the bottom of the leaf into that little lump we've just made. I'm going to try with my medium, see if that, yeah, I'm managing fine with the medium. I'm just being careful not to hit the wire on the inside. Now I might twist this a bit to get in a different angle, just to get that attached securely to our little lump that we made. And there it is attached, and I'm just going to pull that leaf down. So there we are. This bit there is a little bit fuzzy. Finally, we have a rose with the leaf and the stem and the sepals, 5 sepals, and the extra hot pink detail on this one. I hope you enjoyed my video, and if you did, could you give me a like up? That would be lovely. And if you want to see some more felting tutorials, I will endeavour to make some more for you. If you don't have the supplies for this particular project and you just want to buy what you need for this one, go down below and I shall give you a link to my Etsy shop, and I'll be popping up a few supply kits there. Any questions you can ask in the comments below, and I hope you enjoy this project. Thanks for watching.